Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Asia Talent Cup in 2020. It's round one and we're here in Qatar. It's the first race to take place on a Grand Prix weekend in 2020 and the new decade. And after 2 days of pre-season testing in Sepang, the time is finally upon us to go racing. New entries for 2020, Tayo Furusato was setting the timing screens alight in testing, but Losail is a very different venue indeed. Hasn't phased him though, as he starts from pole position today. Alongside him, Harrison Voigt returns for 2020. There's an all-new rider lining up in second place there. Hamada completes the front row. Plenty of rookies are going to make a name for themselves, doing what some class veterans, with them coming of age as well. It's anyone's guess who might be first past the checkered flag. And with a monster straight, slipstreaming being the key, there's little chance for anyone to make a break, and classic finishes are almost guaranteed. The road to MotoGP starts right here in the Asia Talent Cup. It's time to go racing. That is the Doha and Losail skyline right behind us here as the sun is beginning to start to set on the afternoon's action here on qualifying day of the Qatar Grand Prix. It might be qualifying day for the other classes that we have here, but it is race day for the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. My name's Matt Dunn. Alongside me is Fran Wild, as ever, to bring you the coverage of this one. And it is basically an all-new series that we have this year because there are so many new rookies and so many unfamiliar names, with others going on to pastures new. Riders are already on the grid. Nerves are, well, going pretty sky high at the moment, although judging by that chuckle, not too bad for this fella right here. That is Furusato, your pole position man. Fran, welcome to 2020. Good to have you on the comms box, although you did take good care of these guys' photo shoot. How are you feeling ahead of this one?
I did indeed. I hope everyone enjoyed that thrilling Thursday afternoon that we shared, if you did join us for that. But yeah, like you said, looking pretty relaxed for a rookie who topped testing and then has managed to keep that pace going as we get into the real meat of the first race weekend. And yeah, on pole is Tayo Furusato, so that's really impressive stuff from him. Bit of a marker for those who have got a little bit more experience, and there's not that many of them left in this field, like you said. So yeah, Harrison Voigt, Kanta Hamada, they both have a bit more experience, as does Shoki Igarashi and Sharifuddin Azman, who are just behind them on the grid. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting race to start this season from these guys, and it's going to be a great season as well.
Of course, and the last winner that we have from the Asia Talent Cup was Sharifuddin Azman, who, as you rightly said, starts from 5th on the grid today. He'll be looking to back up his finish to the 2019 season with a solid one in the 2021. Just ahead of him, you can see from the onboard footage there from Furusato, number 14, Shoki Igarashi, no longer Igarational Rashi, as he was last year at some points, particularly in Motegi. He'll be lining up, heading that second row in 4th place.
He will, and he is the man who has the best results previously here in Qatar, so could be one to watch, although he's not had that outright one-lap pace. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, because Furusato, he's definitely got that speed, but we've yet to see him in a real race scenario, and racecraft is a lot, like you also mentioned in the intro to the programme. There's a huge straight here at Losail International Circuit, and the slipstream will play a big part in this, I'm sure, and it's incredibly difficult for anyone to pull away on this size of machinery, and with that slipstream down more than a kilometre. So yeah, it could be more than simply who's fastest, it's also about the tactics. So Furusato could be an interesting one to watch as we get into the latter stages.
Although the last race that we had here in Qatar was split by 0.02 of a second between Sho Nishimura and Takuma Matsuyama. Sho did manage to do what we thought was impossible and break away in that first race that we had here last year, winning by 5.5 seconds. Not sure whether that's going to be possible this time though.
He did, but yeah, we saw a few standout performances from both of the top two guys in the Cup last year, but it's not the traditional ATC way to finish a race, is it? Normally it's all chaos and incredible close manoeuvres right down to the final corner, and sometimes right down to the finish line. So in speaking of finish line, like we said, this man is the last man to cross it first, last time out in Sepang race 2, and definitely one of the most experienced. As you can see, 4 podiums including that win.
Much like myself, definitely needs to work on his winking game as well there.
Yeah, not sure about that, but you know, they're learning everything on the road to MotoGP. It's not just on track, it's the whole show.
Yeah, exactly. Even commentators are giving them coaching on various aspects of their racing career, such as winking at the camera. So hopefully watch that back. Now that's a beautiful helmet design.
Of course, are very experienced in that.
Yeah, I'm winking at everybody.
Yeah, that is a great helmet design, isn't it?
Not
really,
what we're used
really
to
nice.
seeing, though, is it?
It's not what we're used to seeing, but yeah, good stuff. Hopefully make our lives a little bit easier. It can be a bit of a challenge with these guys, same bikes, same leathers, and a lot of the same helmets. So it's Gun Mie, who has had some good pace in testing as well. Obviously, another rookie, number 5 coming into the Cup. But yeah, that looks pretty cool. I'd be fairly proud to be blasting around in that myself.
Yeah, quite. And got to say, absolute new contender for the best name on the grid for Asia Talent Cup 2020.
Absolutely.
Much
Off like a shot. Are you ready for all the puns that are going to come?
Oh,
it's a fantastic name. Absolutely fantastic name.
I mean, is it better than Luke Power from last year?
I'm not sure. There have been some classics, haven't there? Yeah. And we haven't ignored the fact that was Aaron Canet, current superstar rookie in Moto2, who's down there ready to see these guys off for their first race. But good to see support from those guys as well, and see them keeping an eye on these guys. We have, of course, also seen that before with a bit of mentoring going on between the likes of Jack Miller and 2018 champion Billy Van Aert. I lose tracks of the years now, getting old.
Absolutely.
A couple of years ago, our first ATC Australian champion. So yeah, good to see the likes of Aron down there checking these guys out as they get ready to really kick us into gear, certainly in this paddock.
Let's get a look at the starting grid then. We do have Furusato starting from pole position, as you mentioned. Voigt just behind him in second place. Hamada in third place. Igarashi leads the second row from fourth, from Asman in fifth, Mie in sixth. Then we have Sharil, Salih and Hongo rounding out row 3. Row 4 is Wakamatsu, Gibbons and Thompson, the 2 Australians there, leading out that one. And then Satichi, well, he's not going to be riding today, but he could be back tomorrow. Yeah,
we heard he is expected to sit this one out after, I think he's just sprained his ankle or foot. So nothing too serious for the Turkish wildcard, but something to bear in mind. And yeah, we saw Carter Thompson as well, a little bit further back on the grid than I'm sure he would have wanted to be. He's someone who has crashed in practice, although rider okay. Asman is another who crashed in practice, and Gunmi did as well. So yeah, few spills for these guys, but nothing too drastic except that sprain that we hope to see Caleb back on the grid tomorrow.
That was Mikhail Salih pointing to the Indian flag on his helmet there. And as the riders get going, and that was the number 7, so 30-second board is up, and these guys are going to be starting their warm-up lap. We're not going racing just yet. Everyone keep calm. Don't
not
get
Moto-E.
overexcited. Yes, quite. Not Moto-E, which of course I'm a bit more used to actually at this stage. But yes, the man clears at the front of the grid, and we're going to be getting around. We'll give you a bit of a preview to the Losail International Circuit in case you are not familiar with it, because you never know who's watching. Could be ATC veteran watchers, or they could be absolutely brand new ones introducing themselves to the sport, where you can probably hear the thunder, the rumble underneath our commentary box as these Moto3 machines head off round the circuit. Now, turn 1 could be a little bit hectic for these guys, as well, so many riders often choose any one of maybe 7 lines going into that first corner in the Asia Talent Cup. In the other championships, it tends to be more like 3 or 4 different lines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these guys can get a little bit loosey-goosey at times, which is what makes it such incredible entertainment and close racing. But yeah, I'm sure we'll all need to hang on to our hats a little when the lights come out for real in a second.
Quite right, and when they go around, they've got to be careful at turn 2, because that is one of the left-handed spots. There are 10 right-hand corners on the Losail International Circuit, 6 left, which means you're spending a lot less time on the left-hand side of your tyre, which means when you get to some of the hairpins, which they're coming around to around about now, they will find that actually it's a little bit cooler than they might expect, and well, very easy to dump it into the scenery and slide out of contention. So got to be careful there. That is also the long lap penalty lane. Hopefully none of these guys will have to use that this time, but should they incur some sort of penalty, race direction are more than obliged to send them through that for a lap, or maybe even 2, depending on the severity of their actions.
Absolutely. So yeah, as you can see, this very different track to Sepang is Losail, so I think it's going to be an interesting one after what we've seen in practice and testing in Sepang, and then obviously in qualifying, where Furusato, we've not really mentioned that gap, but it's pretty sizable. The 0.8 of a second that he's got in his pocket there.
But we often see this, don't we?
We have seen it a few times, yeah.
But then in the actual race, they're just not able to get away.
Absolutely, and there you can see, look, we've got a little bit more breeze, it seemed to me, anyway, as I was on the way to the commentary box, compared to what we saw in FP3 for Moto2 and Moto3 a little bit earlier on. You can see 11 km/h gone down a bit there, proving me wrong. But it's a nice warm day out there still, and sun not quite setting just yet, but getting a bit lower, just making it a bit harder to see for us out our window. But,
yes, low enough that I would quite like to watch this race with sunglasses on, and you actually had yours on earlier.
I did.
To take them off. But we're on board with Voigt here, looking forward from him. He is the number 18 this season, and definitely one of the contenders we should expect. So how many new riders have we actually got here, Fran? I'm looking at...
The full grid should have been originally 15 rookies and 5 returning riders, but there have been a couple of changes. So yeah, and obviously we do have a calendar change as well that we should just point out, as announced with MotoGP now heading to Chang International Circuit in Buriram later in the year. Of course, the Asia Talent Cup will do as well, so they've got a little bit of a wait for round 2, but this is round 1, race 1, and there's another one coming up straight up tomorrow. So,
well, Grand Prix racing, well, racing on the road to MotoGP at least, is about to get underway in this brand new decade and for 2020. All riders lining up on the grid. Well, adrenaline will be absolutely pumping through their veins, nerves absolutely tingling throughout everywhere. What can this man do? Your pole position man, Tayo Furusato, do from pole position on the grid? The man with the red flag leaves the grid. We're about to go racing in 2020 for the first time. The lights go out and away we go. What a start that was from Furusato. Great big kick from those strong legs for such a young man as well. Voigt got absolutely swallowed there alongside the number 13. That is Asman, who looks so is slotted into second place. And look at this lead that Furusato's managed to get already. A couple of bike lengths all around the outside. Is that Asman there? Who was that? Just bump around the inside. Can't quite see, but very, very careful into turn 2 now. That was the number 8. Oh, that is Hamada. Well, we're used to seeing that name from last year as well, aren't we, Fran?
We are indeed, yeah. So experience showing for him at least, and Asman as well has moved up a little bit. But like you said, Harrison Voigt really seemed to bog down a little bit off the line there. An absolutely perfect start there for our man on pole. So I don't think it was too good. It looked like he just absolutely nailed it.
He really, really did, and he's got such a significant bike length lead as well, though Hamada's starting to chase him down. Very careful into turn 6 there. That is the number 10 of... Oh, he's down! Oh, who was it? I think that's Feardout who's down, is it not the number 10? No, 18, my apologies, that's Voigt! What a disaster! Oh, my vision's got the better of me already. What a disaster from the man that we thought could actually take the fight.
Absolutely, that's not what he will have wanted to start off the season. One of the experienced men in the field, like we said. Here we see the amazing chest cam on a Marshall, just trying to get that restarted, but that's a real shame for Harrison Voigt in the first race of the year.
Commentators note, nice to see all the Marshalls are wearing gloves now after one of them sadly planted his hands right onto Philippe Salach's exhaust earlier on in the Moto3 session. He won't be doing that again anytime soon. So what a disaster that was for Harrison Voigt. My apologies. Saying it was number 10 instead, it was just the numbers, the font can get ahead of you. I much prefer the new font from MotoGP.
The font can get ahead of you, I like that phrase. But
absolutely.
It looks like I might just get completely proved wrong everything I said in the opening to the programme, because as we can see, our pole sitter still has quite a significant advantage, and absolutely no one bothering him and getting in his way, although Hamada not letting him stretch away too far at the moment, still very much in touch, but it depends. If he can use that slipstream a bit when we get back onto the main straight and just try and pull in another few hundredths, then maybe we'll see if we've got a race on our hands. But at the moment, perfection pretty much from Furusato first time out.
I'll tell you what, Hamada has got one heck of a riding style on him, so neatly tucked in behind the fairing at all sorts of turns, and he's in the slipstream now, coming right on the back of Furusato. Will he catch him towards turn 1? No, but he is within striking distance now over the coming corners, so he's managed to pull him in around that main straight, which is very good. Not just good news for him, good news for the excitement of the race, and good news for everybody else as well. Asman in the background there, ever present, just watching these guys. He'd love to start off 2020 with a podium.
I'm sure he would, yeah. So you can see that it looked like there's Hamada still a little bit far back, but really caught him up again on the brakes around turn 1 there. So I think it should, at the moment, I don't think we need to lose too much faith that we're going to have a race on our hands, but a good job from the number 8 to have basically made up all that ground that everyone lost at the start, because that's such an amazing start that we saw from Furusato, and already had that advantage just almost for free from that reaction time.
Quite right, this could well be experience versus rookie freshness at the front of the field here. Hamada, he might not know exactly how to win or to podium very often, but he knows exactly what it is to race in the Asia Talent Cup, which is some experience which Furusato does lack at this present time, no matter how fast he's actually been in the testing or free practice or even qualifying campaign.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different kettle of fish, isn't it, when you're out there and it's not just someone trying to go faster than you, it's someone trying to physically get in your way. So I think that will be an interesting one to watch, like we said. But all of these guys, of course, do have some experience of competition on two wheels. So, you know, it's not like everyone's completely fresh. If
it's
they're
not like
fresh
he's
to the
coming
cup.
from the local park where he's been riding around
Exactly,
on a scooter, is it?
It's not just, you know, pulling some wheelies down your drive. But still, it's a bit of a different situation when you say, like, Hamada does have that little bit more experience of just how to manage the ATC. But so far, no signs of the pressure really affecting Taiyo Furusato at all.
No, absolutely not. Not in testing, free practice, or qualifying at the moment. Just look at the difference in riding styles of both
great,
these guys.
isn't it?
I don't think
so
they're too different in height or anything like that, but they're just so different, of course.
Yeah, completely different. And you look back then from the man in the lead, you can see that number 8 really gaining in the slipstream. I don't think he's going to make a move.
It looks like he's
gonna,
out then.
yeah, it did look like he's more content to just gain that time back and just sit there, which again could be some experience there. I don't know if he's gone a little bit wider or just using different lines slightly around there.
Probably
so
judging. Well,
we did see he
line.
was faster around that last time around though, so maybe he knows he does need that extra speed. Of course, all of them need that, but it just needs that extra space maybe to stay on the back of the number 15 if they are taking different lines around different parts of the track. But at the moment then, it looks like we're on for a good duel, and Azman not losing touch too much. There's still 12 laps to go, so there is plenty time for those who may be a little bit quicker in the second half of the race. Who knows how that experience will pay off as we do get into those latter stages.
Worth pointing out at this moment that for the man behind Furusato, Hamada set the fastest lap of the race there, nearly a 2:12 flat. Not quite as fast as the 2:11 that we saw from Furusato in qualifying, which said a 2:11.958. But that is significantly quicker than even Azman behind him, who said a 2:12.8. Here's what happened to Voigt then as he went down. Oh, just the front end tucked away from him, asking too much from that front tyre.
Yeah, you can see he's pretty mad at himself there, but no harm done to the rider. Machine looks in pretty good nick as well, immediately trying to get that started. And he is back in the race, but he is a fair distance behind these guys. However, with a slightly smaller field this weekend, there are still points up for grabs.
Absolutely.
So it is definitely more than worth trying to get back in this race if it's safe to try and do so. And it looks like Voigt's been able to carry on at at least a reasonable pace.
Meanwhile, these two, Hamada just watching what his compatriot is doing just ahead of him there, sitting very comfortably, it seems, just behind him. Such a different in lines as well as these riding styles from both of them. Azman not looking as though he's making any sort of inroads on either of them. If not, they're actually pulling away a little bit more.
I think I take back what I said a minute ago, actually. Now it seems there's a bit more of a significant amount of space between these two at the front and Azman, who currently would stand to complete the podium. But these guys certainly not split by much, and good to see, because it was a little bit worrying when you've got an advantage of 8 tenths on pole and then nail the start so well that you're just already that clear by turn 1. But yeah, Hamada's done a really good job to stay with him and also obviously not feel the pressure too much. And last time around then it was Furusato who was faster, but it was almost nothing in it, just a few thousandths and hundredths.
Absolutely, but
so
worth pointing out,
evenly matched.
That is the fastest time of the weekend so far from Furusato, so very impressive, absolutely no slowing of the pace. And that time around, once again, Azman was only able to put in a 2:12.7, so 7 tenths he lost again on that. These two really are the class of the field, and it was quite noticeable how going down the straight there that Hamada was really not having any intention of going past Furusato whatsoever. He's so happy to sit there. I hope that I'm completely right about that, but you never know with the Asia Talent Cup, boys.
You do never know, but yeah, I'd certainly agree with you. It looks at the moment like he's content to just sit pretty in second and let Furusato do a bit more of the legwork in this one. But yeah, so it is Furusato then who's only the only man able to have been, well, I'll get my words out eventually. The only man so far who's been able to put in a 2:11 in qualifying or in the race. But like we said, Hamada though, very consistent, 2:12 dead last 2 laps around, and certainly not letting him get away by any means.
Definitely not. Look at the style of Hamada there, so impressive.
So different, isn't it, when you see them both around similar. Yeah, it's incredible to see, and they're both pretty much the same lap time, but so different on the bike.
Shout out to Gun Mie as well in 4th place. This is such a good showing for the Japanese. 4 riders in the top 5 there, only split in 2 separate sandwiches with a Malaysian filling with Asman there.
Absolutely, what a lovely, lovely bit of phrasing that was.
And well, it gets even better actually, because you got Wakamatsu just behind them there, so it's even 5 in the top 6 as an absolute Japanese showdown.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? So these guys doing their countrymen proud, who, of course, we've had a few ATC champions from Japan. They've been a very successful country in motorcycle racing, always, pretty much, and especially in the ATC, they are always the guys with the target on their back quite often.
Fran, it looks like the Furusato messed up his drive out of the final corner there, because he's neck and neck with Hamada as they come across the start and finish line. It was Hamada who technically crossed it first, and wow, he went 3/10 quicker that time around into the 2:11s. Very, very impressive, and this is what we're used to seeing here actually in Qatar. As the conditions start to cool a little bit, the sun starts to go down, the lap times actually get quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah, but you can see then the number 15 back in front, but yeah, that was a 2:11.7 dead for Hamada, and it was 91 hundredths behind that for Furusato, so they're still pretty evenly mixed. But yeah, it was definitely, you could see that just fluffing up the final corner a little bit before that main straight cost him. And I guess Hamada in that situation, it's not the kind of time when you're going to just sit behind someone, because that was your tactic before. But he is now back in second again. I'm wondering if it's about pressure or if it's just about trying to get a look at his rival, or what the plan is exactly for the number 8.
Absolutely not showing his hand, I imagine, as well. Here's a replay of what happened down into turn 1. So it looked like Hamada got a little bit wide, mainly with that extra top speed from the slipstream. So close, blimey. Look how close to his rear wheel he gets. He just right staring at that tail unit, isn't he? And you can really see there the difference in riding style. So impressive.
Yeah, you can. Hamada seems to be going in a little bit wider than a few guys into turn 1, but that definitely cost him more than it gained him.
Absolutely. And looking at the lap times again though, Asman well and truly out of it. So these two we're looking at right now, the only ones who are not even in the 212s, 211s, because everybody else in that lap was a minimum of a 213. 213 0.65 for Asman in 3rd place. Well, that is just his bid for the win absolutely over, unless these two come to blows over the course of the next 9.5 laps or so. But these two are cut above the rest in this race. The others have got a lot of homework to do if they want to take the charge to them tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. But as well, it'll be interesting to see what happens by the end of the race. We've got 10 laps to go. Or, well, yeah, like you said, 9 and a bit. But yeah, maybe they've gone a bit hard too soon. I don't know. A lot can shuffle at the end of an ATC race. We've seen gaps close down a lot quicker than you have in other classes. However, at the moment, these guys definitely are showing they're a bit of a cut above, certainly around this Losail International Circuit.
Hamada pulls out from the slipstream once again, and he crosses the line in 1st place again. He's decided it's my time to lead now, although it's not as if he needs to, because it's not as if anyone's coming up behind them. Oh, looks at Furusato, goes up the inside yet again. He says, no, I'm leading this one, thanks, pal. But then look at the difference in line that they're forced to take with the difference in braking zones. Careful in turn 2, because the left-hand side of the tyre can be quite cool, and Live Timing's decided it's had enough of this already. We're just watching what's on our screens at the moment.
We are. So, but yeah, it's pretty interesting then. So Hamada taking the bull by the horns again on the main straight, but that time around it was actually Asman who was the quickest of the top 3. So, oh no, it wasn't. Sorry, I can't read a 3 for a 2. But he was a little bit quicker. But these guys both lost a few tenths on their previous best laps back in the 212s. There's a 212.375 and a 212.390. So yeah, pretty interesting. It'd be interesting to see if they can keep this pace up right to the end of the race, or is it going to drop off. Like you said, generally we tend to see faster lap times as it cools off a little bit. However, obviously that's quite a few laps into the tyres by that point as well.
Quite right. Well, we're looking right on your screens now. A good look at the battle for 4th. That's between Gun Mie and Igarashi. So those two still battling out, but no real changes in those positions as we'd be keeping an eye on it. Igarashi just was seemingly struggling to keep up with a bit of his fellow countrymen there, perhaps, as he's pulled out a couple of bike lengths depending on different sections. All these two is getting a bit spicy here as well, isn't it? So it looks like Hamada has kind of showed his hand, says, I want to lead it, and Furusato is deciding, no, I'm comfortable leading this race. I'm running the pace. I'm the man. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it definitely seems it. I like the fact we've had a few switches now. I thought we were going to end up with a classic, just someone hanging back and then waiting to pounce right at the end. We have had a few little shuffles of position between these guys through a combination of slight mistakes or going a little bit wide, and then just deciding, nope, I want the lead back, thank you, and then taking it. But I think it's going to be a good duel, though, this to the end, because like you said, they have got such different riding styles and also a few different places on the track where they're choosing different lines. It's going to be a good one. And as you can see already then, Hamada looking to strike back. Be interesting to see if he does. No, not seeming to be too tempted there to really bang it up the inside, but going to sit there again and spend another lap looking at this new rookie who so far, no pressure.
Rookie sensation he is.
Absolutely, yeah. You just can't tell at all that he's not been doing this for 2-3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to be a star of the future, along with many of the Japanese talents that are now making their way into the Senior World Championship as well, Fran. Of course, this year, such a range of Japanese riders in Moto3. Some rookies and some guys really coming of age, starting to show how good they really are, such as your Aguras of the world.
Exactly, yeah. One of the fastest men consistently in pre-season. The winner of the Grand Prix here in Moto3 last year was an ATC former champion, Kaito
the original
Toba.
ATC champion.
The OG.
Yes.
Absolutely. Who spent quite a while hanging out in the nice sofa section of the paddock earlier.
Did he?
It's a pretty relaxed weekend so
Just
far.
resting perhaps, because I think he's got a bit of a limp on his right leg, you know.
Yeah, it seems to be a few guys at the moment just getting used to a race weekend again, keeping it nice and calm. But these guys,
these guys not keeping it calm.
Definitely disappearing
there
now.
There he is. Well, that was a move and a half, wasn't it, up the inside? Hamada says, it's my time to go now. I want to lead this thing. But is this, the question remains, is he trying to do that because he thinks he can lead and pull away? Or is he going to get mugged again by Furusato? He does into this triple right-hander. Absolutely excellent, but you've got to be careful because even on these Moto3 bikes here, you've got to get your line on this triple right-hander absolutely perfect to line up for the final corners, because otherwise you can mess up your entire lap and your run out, and he goes over track limits slightly there.
Yeah, very slightly. That'll be nothing to worry about in terms of penalties or anything, but yeah, a little bit of a wobble there you can see as he just dropped off the far edge of the curb, but it's the number 15 back in front then, but definitely getting a bit spicier. However, they do have 5 seconds in hand above Asman.
Yes,
so they can afford to dice a little bit, but who knows, because we've seen drama in the ATC before where we've seen so positive of what's about to happen.
That
and then
is why we love it.
It is indeed. So it looks like we're going to get a little bit more, if not drama, then spice down into turn one. Not sure though. I think Hamada maybe might sit back there again. Yep, just content at this point at least to sit in second. But yeah, it's definitely getting a bit closer, isn't it? You can feel the energy just going up a little bit between these two.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall with these two watching the race later on, because I'm just so fascinated by the difference in line choice there. Gap 1,000 seconds, absolutely excellent. That is a huge lead for Furusato there. Joking, of course, but Furusato, yes, is so impressive. We're just watching his line choice coming out of turn one. It'd be interesting to see how much he's managed to gain from there, because of course they should be able to tell that some of the rider coaches, part of the Road to MotoGP program is coaching these guys, telling them what's better and what's not. I'm sure the organisers will be sitting these two down saying, here's the difference in how you guys took this part of the track, etc. You can actually see so-and-so gained a little bit in this sector and whatnot, so absolutely fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. So you can see the pace has dropped off a little bit. We're now usually in the 212s for both these guys in the lead, but they're still significantly faster than the rest of the guys behind them, including Asman, whose last lap around was a 2:13.315. Now I have learnt to read. So it's still impressive pace for these guys. Not quite as hot as those few laps they banged in earlier, but still pulling away as long as they don't get too dicey. And it's now 6 seconds they've got.
This is the absolute full gas turn 11 that they're coming through, and then it's turn 12, turn 13 and turn 14, a triple right apex, and these guys, well, they can't do it with their knee down completely all the way through, a little bit like Moto3 or maybe Moto2 do. Got to be careful out on the edge there, because that's a little bit like a supercross whoop section. If you can get all sorts of, well, out of control on those bits if you're not too careful.
Yeah, I thought Hamada was going to just keep it stuck in around the outside there, but not quite. But it's lovely looking back from the onboard camera as well, isn't it? As the sun's starting to go down a bit. Really, really cool shot there back from our leader. It's always great to see when you've got bikes so close together to really get that sense of that number 8 kind of looming large right behind, ready to try and attack again. And I think that's what he is about to do now. I'd be surprised if he doesn't, given how, yeah, so early on the straight there alongside there. who crosses the line first. It was Hamada, so he's managed that a few times now. Might be just doing a bit of a rehearsal for if they're in that position near the end of the race.
Well, we're well over halfway through the race here, and it's absolutely on between the two Japanese hotshots, because Hamada and Furusato, Hamada makes the move down into turn 1, but on the exit of it, Furusato takes him straight back. We're through turn 2 and towards turn 3, and Hamada's actually lost a little bit there. His line choice was clearly very, very iffy in comparison to Furusato's, because he's pulled out a bike length or two, but it won't be long before Hamada manages to catch him back, I imagine. But you never know. These two, still the only guys running 212s. They are just such a cut above everybody else. But some of the beauty of the Asia Talent Cup, as we so often see, is tomorrow we'll come back and these guys will come out swinging. They'll be a second quicker.
Yeah, it is incredible to watch. And Billy Van Aert, that we talked about earlier, the 2018 champion from Australia, he was a great example of how your experience changes throughout the season. Started off, you know, getting points and then moving up a bit more, then was always a threat for victory, and then eventually won the cup. So it's not just about coming out and being like, well, I'm the fastest, and then remaining there all season. It's also about progression, learning, taking everything in, learning racecraft, as well as, you know, how to ride the bike as quick as possible. It's how to beat everyone around you as well and put it all together. So it's good to see. But at the moment, these guys, yeah, today they certainly rule. Be interesting to see what happens tomorrow when we do come back, and be interesting to see when we do have a few more guys on the grid as well, how they slot into the equation.
Quite right, absolutely right there. And of course, part of the Road to MotoGP program, and it being the Asia Talent Cup, it's not just the winner who gets a spot in the junior talent team in the Moto3 Junior World Championship, but if the rider, even if they don't quite get the win, they prove to be such a hot young prospect in terms of all aspects of racing, your attitude, your training, your mindset. They too can also get a place in the junior talent team, which of course leads directly, should they succeed enough, into the senior world championship.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, progress is always key. You know, just because you're fastest when you're 13 years old doesn't mean you're going to be fastest when you're 23 years old. If you've not learned anything more from that, and you know, maybe sometimes it is better to have to work that bit harder and have to use that as motivation to really perfect everything you can. So it's always an interesting one. I mean, even the likes of Dani Pedrosa wasn't the fastest when he got picked up, but he was the guy with so much potential, and that definitely came through. One of the most successful Grand Prix riders of all time.
Quite
so
right.
Definitely nothing to not be ashamed of, that's way too strong a phrase, but there's nothing to worry about for these guys. If they've expected to turn up in the ATC and then be the ones that are 8/10 away on pole, that's fine. Maybe by the time we get into the likes of Sepang later in the year, that'll be them too. But there's plenty of time, and it is just as much about learning and progressing as it is about racing.
Exactly.
Oh, and
that was a mistake,
progress,
was it?
Hamada has made some. It was just a little bit wide there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Hamada retakes the lead once again in seriously impressive stuff. I was about to say, as that move was made, some of these guys, they're 13, 14 years old, compared with even 12 years old. Young Carter Thompson battling down in 10th place there. They're so young. Of course they're going to come into the Asia Talent Cup thinking, I want to win this thing. I'm going to absolutely destroy it. They don't realise yet what's so important. And this guy knows exactly what's important. And that, to him, is being in front. But Hamada takes it straight back as they're on the run down towards turn 11. Fran,
lads,
it's only 5 laps to go.
I was going to say, there's 4 laps to go after this one. Come on, let's calm down. But great stuff from these guys then. Super close racing already, and we're not even near the final lap yet. But I think this is going to be a pretty good finish, and I'm a little bit nervous.
This is such a wealth of experience for the both of them, of not just battling with each other and outfoxing the other guy with such different moves, but also just with that pressure of running for a race win. Hamada just so close to the back of Furusato there. He almost ran to the back of him. He's got to be careful, because it could all end in tears. There's no guarantee these guys are going to finish if they mess around too much.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it before. And even if it's not some sort of crash or absolute disaster with no points, if they do tap each other a bit wide or just slow each other down too much, those guys are still coming behind them. You know, you don't get, if you do go off track, it's amazing how quickly you do drop that time, as we saw obviously for a crash, but sadly for Harrison Voigt early on. It takes a long time to recover from a bit of an off-track excursion, even if you're able to get back on.
Fran, I just got shades of the Chucker brothers there, because that was a proper to me to you down in the braking zone along from the home straight, because Hamada did his classic overtaking move along the straight, and Furusato took him straight back, said absolutely not.
I enjoy the Chuckle Brothers reference, because of course the audience for the ATC will be well on board. But these are great shots, like I was saying earlier, from the onboard with the sun behind as well. You can see how close Hamada is there. But yeah, these guys then, it was just 0.030 over the line, and there's still nothing to split them at all.
And
we've got a bit of wide there.
Yeah, he's going to get a bit of benefit in terms of drive, but so he should get it straight back. But that was a bit of a mistake from Hamada down to turn 6. Almost took himself into the long lap penalty lane.
He did. So it's 1-1 then for a little bit of a, we've seen a couple of little bits, but there's certainly now one time each that they've genuinely just gone a little bit too wide and then been forced to recover it. But as you can see, it's fluctuating almost by the same amount of time every lap, and that is why they are still absolutely locked together with just 3 laps to go after this one.
And there you can see the lap times are certainly dropping now as they've both fallen into the 2:13s and staying there well and truly along with everybody else. Actually, the fastest man on track that time around was Asman, so he's way too far away to be able to have a hope of catching these guys. But it is what you say, Fran, how later on in the race some of these guys, they do come a little bit quicker, but what Asman needs to work on tomorrow is that start of the race.
Yeah, most definitely. Lost a lot of ground in those early stages when, like we said, these guys were banging in the 2:11s and no one else was really that close. But at the moment, yeah, there's a lot less to choose between the lap times of the guys in the sort of top 5 or 6. No, the top 5 pretty much all in the 2:13s and between, 3-4 tenths between them. That's pretty encouraging stuff, but it was early in the race when these guys really put the hammer down and were able to make that gap.
Interesting, the difference in line choices on the home straight as well, because earlier on they were all the way over towards the left-hand side of the circuit. Now they're deviating all the way towards the right. And look at this, this is the furthest part we've seen them. Who's going to make it into turn 1 quick as well? It looks like Furusato. He seems a lot more stronger on the brakes in the initial corner entry. He feels able to brake later, but that might be to his detriment as Hamada. Blimey, he's got to be careful because he nearly got wiped out there by his rear wheel.
A little bit. You saw me then shake my hand like, ooh.
Rossi and Marquez-esque from 2015 Argentina.
Exactly. And that time over the line, if you paid attention, Furusato was the man just ahead as they crossed it.
0.005,
yeah, absolutely nothing. So I'm sure Hamada will have been aware that that's maybe not the way to approach it last time around if he's in a similar position.
Last year, the winning gap in the Qatar Grand Prix between Sho Nishimura and Takuma Matsuyama was 0.02 of a second, so that would have been even closer. And Furusato, he just gets sat up there as they go into turn 6. Hamada retains the lead once again. Still 3 laps to go, and it's a long lap at 2 minutes 12. Still so much racing left to do, and I'm pretty tired already. I do hope someone listening can come and bring me a cold towel, because I think I'm going to need it at the end of this, as we always do after a race in Qatar.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact you're literally leaning on the wall as well.
That's just because Simon Crayfar made me do a workout the other day, and it really hurts in the arms. So,
oh dear,
completely unrelated fact.
But okay, we've got Furusato back in the lead then. But yeah, it seems to have really picked up a little bit now. They're really trading places. They've probably realised, of course, that they do have that time in hand to be able to not worry too much about the guys behind catching them up unless there is anything really dramatic. So they can afford to just dice a little bit, test each other out before it's all on the line in the final lap. But it's a great race so far. I love duels like this. Mate, I genuinely love them.
These two, if this is an Asia Talent Cup battle of the ages, just between these two, just slogging it out all year long, sign me up, because this is absolutely great entertainment. Because although they're comrades and they travel around the world together, it's going to get a little bit personal. There's going to be a little bit of argy-bargy there. Although even that they might stay close friends, given that they're both sort of trying to ascend with each other. It's just so juicy.
It is, most definitely. And this is why I love it when there's just a duel, because it's just, everything is about beating that other person. There's no opportunism of someone else causing, the person just ahead of you to go wide, and then you take that opportunity. It's literally just tactics. It's a game of chess right to the end of the race. At the moment, though, a little bit more of a daylight there, but I'm sure Hamada will do his best to tag back on as soon as possible. He does seem to be able to
catch him back up towards the end of the lap.
But it did just suddenly catch my eye. It went up to over 2 tenths there, which it hasn't done for quite some time. They've really been sort of one shape of 2 bikes, but I think he's just made a bit of headway again now and just tagging back on.
These final 2 sections of this lap's really where it matters now, because now they're thinking, how am I going to tackle on the final lap? Do I want to be behind? Do I want to be in front? Where am I fastest? They've had enough laps and enough rehearsals now to know where they're quickest, but there's also the changing factor of the fact that the track conditions have changed now. They're running slightly slower lap times as well. Their lines will have changed ever so slightly. They will have learned more in that time as well. Who's going to get it? I have absolutely no idea. I could not tell you. Based on what we've seen so far, maybe Hamada can just nick it at the line, but Furusato has been so good at defending as well. Maybe he's got something else up his sleeve. Maybe he's learned something.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe this is his pace to make sure that the two of them escape at the front, and then in a minute he's going to pull the pin and put in a last lap that's got a little bit left in the tank. We just don't know. But at the moment, Hamada has been able to just catch back onto the back of Furusato in the lead, but definitely not quite as comfortably his shadow as he has been recently, I'd say.
No, he definitely made a mistake in that first sector, but has been reeling him back in very steadily. That must be the experience
Proved
coming in
already,
from Hamada. Absolutely. So this is the penultimate time we see them coming down to the final corner then of this first race of the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. This is where Hamada's going to work out whether he wants to be behind or in front as they're exiting this final corner. Maybe there's going to be a Marquez or Dovi-esque lunge here in the final corner. We just don't know. But guess what? There's 5.3 kilometers left of racing here in the first race of the Asia Talent Cup in 2020. Over the line they come for the penultimate time, and in first place it is Furusato. How late will he break into turn one? Will Hamada make a move? Not this time around. Furusato so strong in there, but what about his line? Hamada goes so wide there. He's lost so much time. He's made such a big mistake. It's what we saw a lap ago.
It was, yeah. He didn't seem to learn from that too much, because he is definitely fast around there when he gets it right. We've seen him make up quite a few meters on the number 15 ahead of him, but that time, I don't know, is he going to be able to catch that back up? It's quite a gap there.
Yeah, let's have a look and see what the splits say, because I'm not so sure, although he is reeling him back in already. Furusato, the other thing is he won't have any idea that that's just happened either. He doesn't even know that happened before.
Absolutely, yeah. So that goes both ways. One, he's not aware that he's nice and safe in the lead, and therefore will still be taking the same risk.
He's caught him right back up.
There you go. So, like I said, he'll still be absolutely pushing to his limit if he's not aware that that had happened, and that has pushed him into a bit of a mistake there as well. So it's pretty much as you were.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at this fast and flowing section here as we come in towards sector 3. It goes left, then it goes right, and then you're braking very hard and down into another hairpin at turn 10. We've seen mistakes made there before as well, but will there be any overtaking moves? No, not close enough this time. I imagine Hamada just wants to keep his line, doesn't want to force himself into a mistake. But now we come full throttle through turn 11 towards that triple right-hander, setting up for the final corner.
Yes, we are. I don't know if he's going to leave it, Hamada, and try and make it ahead to the line like we've seen him manage to do on a few previous laps, or if he's going to really go for that, like you said, Marquez attack.
Yes, well, let's find out, shall we? Because it's the final one of that triple right-hander coming into the left here. So it's all about lining him up. Furusato in the lead through the penultimate corner on the run down to the final one then. This is Asia Talent Cup racing in 2020. What's Hamada going to do? Is he going to pull up the inside? No, he's not. He's decided the slipstream is for him. That's how he wants to try and take this victory. But will he do it? He's got to pin the throttle straight out of here. Tuck in as much as he possibly can on that slightly smaller frame. They hug the grass as we come towards the finish line and the checker flag. He pulls out. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Hamada? Yes, it is. He takes the win. Experience over youth and enthusiasm, but take nothing away from Furusato, because that was an amazing debut performance. Asman comes across the finish line for a very respectable third. And who's it going to be between Igarashi and Mie? It's going to be Mie just as they touch elbows as well. Oh, yes, he shakes his fist there thinking,
I like that. What exactly was that? Like, sorry or haha?
Or just,
we've still got more going as well. Look at this group. These haven't been split by much. Some newcomers in here. Oh, it's all down to the line today. It looks like the number 22 is going to take it there.
That is Hongo. No, it
maybe
wasn't.
not. It wasn't. It was Shariel getting that. That was incredible. That was really right on the line there. Good group there fighting it out, and obviously a little bit too much there. We see that so often, don't we? Once you cross the finish line for like fastest ever lap or anything like that, yeah, just straight into that runoff. But that was an incredible race to start the season, wasn't it? Kanta Hamada, have to say, I wasn't willing to quite bet on it by saying it out loud on live commentary, but I was fairly sure that's what he was going to do after we'd seen it manage it a few times in the race. But then you never know on that last lap, and Furusato could well have changed his tactics as well. But great duel to start the season. It was 0.032 in the end, almost nothing in it.
And got a feel for this man there, Harrison Voigt, coming across the line. But those are some valuable points for him, because it is a long season, even though these guys only have 6 rounds or so. 12 races, is it? Yes, the math's pretty much right, but it normally is anyways. But Harrison Voigt, number 18, he'll be absolutely miffed with that one. But
absolutely, yeah. But like you said, he does have some points, and he could be an interesting one to watch tomorrow. Obviously, he did start on the front row of the grid. So who knows if he'd made it a little bit further into that race what his pace would have been, and who knows who can make that step forward for tomorrow as well, having a look through what these guys have done at the front.
How about that then? Igarashi just pulls up alongside his fellow countryman questioning, did you get first? Yes I did, mate. Oh, congratulations. Dead chuffed.
I hope that's exactly how they said
That's exactly what he said, but in Japanese. This is the finish then, right across the finish line. How about that? Racing as close as you like, as we're so used to seeing here in Qatar. How many times have we seen it before? It doesn't get any less exciting. The answer is no.
It absolutely doesn't. But yeah, so a little bit of frustration, I'm sure, for Furusato. Bit of a Rins Kota there going on for Kanta Hamada, celebrating that. But you can see immediately there, Furusato just knows, oh, that was so close. It must be a bit of a heartbreaker when you've been on pole and you've led so much of the race, and just to get pipped by that amount. But nevertheless, pretty impressive debut.
Very incredibly
Take
impressive
nothing
debut.
away from that. This guy is a rookie, like we said. So 20 points in the bag. Good looking at the season as a whole. Pole position, his pace in general, his pace in pre-season as well. It's not just one venue. It's not just one session or time of day or certain conditions. And then to have duelled for that right the way to the line as well, taking that pressure just as well as his countrymen. That's an impressive first race for Furusato in the ATC.
Definitely so. And 14 years old. Make you feel old yet?
Well, yeah, but you make me feel old.
Yeah, I'm only 10 years older. 12, nearly 12. Oh dear.
Maths isn't your strong point this afternoon, is it?
Kanta Hamada does have a year over his rival there, Furusato. He's 15 years old, but it doesn't make it any less exciting for those guys. This man here, though, Syarifudin Azman, not quite picking up from where he left off in 2019, but a podium nonetheless is exactly what he needs to mount a serious title challenge.
Yeah, most definitely. It's good points for him. And Losail last year wasn't the best venue for the Malaysian either. He didn't get a finish in the top 10 last season here. So, you know, it could be that as well. We've seen at times in the ATC, you get some guys that are real specialists at certain venues. Chan Onju, for example, absolute king of Sepang, untouchable around there. And yeah, it's good to see then for the likes of Furusato that he's had pace at more than one track so far and has been top of the pile at both.
Well, here's what happened between Mie and Igarashi. Oh, dearie
cheeky.
Me. Cheeky. I'm sure,
Classic Igarashi
yeah.
in the best way.
Yeah. I love that we can already say that with him being in his second season in this very entry-level series. Classic Igarashi. So yes, congratulations all round for your winner, Kanta Hamada. Very, very well deserved as well. And of course, it's not all like those of you watching on Facebook, YouTube or Twitter. Of course, still got qualifyings for Moto 3 and Moto 2 to come here at the Losail International Circuit as well.
For some it's the main, for others an appetizer. We've got plenty of action still to come. We've already had a fair bit of track time as well for Moto 2 and Moto 3 here at Losail. But this is the first race in this paddock of the season. And for me, that just makes it a little bit more exciting at the moment.
Yeah, really,
classic duel
really
to start us off.
Yes, that's exactly what we want. Racing, motorcycle racing, the Grand Prix level, even on the road to MotoGP level. Can we call it Grand Prix level? I guess we can, if it's down at the base of the tree.
I say Grand Prix paddock.
Grand Prix paddock level, yes.
Although they do, of course, race in other paddocks as well throughout the season.
Quite. Well, yes, awesome to have some exhilarating racing to kick us off in 2020. What better way? Because I think everybody needed a bit of that as well. Some classic racing.
Yeah, a little bit of adrenaline, and that drag to the line certainly had plenty of that.
And you, of course, can keep up to date with all Asia Talent Cup news on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Asia Talent Cup everywhere. And, of course, the website as well. So please do make sure, because these guys, these really are some of the stars of the future.
Yeah, they are, absolutely.
And this is the very entry level. It's all documented, their entire rise to the top here, the Asia Talent Cup. So it's so worth keeping track of, because you never know. Well, we already had, as we mentioned, Kaita Toba, the first Asia Talent Cup champion, won the Moto 3 race here last year. It's just the beginning. Yep,
a Grand Prix winner. Chan Onju was not quite champion in this class, but was a race winner and contender. It was actually his twin, Dennis, who so far has been the fastest rookie in Moto 3 in pre-season, and what was the word? Not testing.
Free practice.
Thank
That's
you.
the one.
We'll get there eventually. And yeah, Ayumi Sasaki, also from the ATC. It's a lot of really good names who've come through here. And yeah, the likes of Ayago and now rookie this year, Yuki Kuni. It's good stuff. Some good riders coming through. And Somkiat Chantra, of course, the first one into Moto 2. He was champion in this series as well. So here's the results then.
Yes, Kanta Hamada takes the win, 0.032 ahead of Taiyo Furusato. Siari Fudin Asman was third from Gun Mie. Shoki Igarashi Sharil was 6th from Masaya Hongo. Wakamatsu was 8th from Carter Thompson in 9th. 10th was Max Gibbons from Mikhail Sali in 11th, and Harrison Voigt bringing up the rear in 12th place after that crash on the first lap. Valuable points for him, as you'll see in the championship standings just coming up. And Caleb Satiji was not racing today. Should be, hopefully, back tomorrow. Let's see. And these are meant to be the championship standings. Don't really need to go through them, to be honest, because
it'll be
just
the same as the race.
Yes, quite. This is the only time we can do that. Ultra easy. So never mind that one. Just pretend that didn't happen.
But yeah, great race then, and we'll get to see these guys on the podium for the first time this year. Just a note though, if you look at the gap from 6th down to 11th before Voigt, there's almost nothing in it. There's 1 second. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. So like, it looks a bit heartbreaking for our Indian rider this year, Sally, down in 11th after having been fighting in that group, but he was almost 6th.
Yeah, good stuff from him.
It's good to see that, yeah, there's a really tight group of riders there that will learn a lot from each other, I'm sure.
Well, looking at Furusato, he'll always remember the first time he stepped onto a Grand Prix podium, not quite in a Grand Prix capacity, but on a road to MotoGP capacity. And of course, Hamada will always remember his first win on this stage. Still great to see some fans come out to see us here in Qatar. And look at that, 2009 250cc world champion and Honda team major boss, potentially one of these guys, future team boss, perhaps. You never know. Hiroshi Oyama handing out the trophies here.
And almost getting a bit of an extra tango with the camera there. So Hamada then, that first win feeling, he looks pretty happy about it, doesn't he?
No doubt about it. Congratulations to Kenta Hamada for what a stunning victory that was today. The first win of 2020 for him. Take nothing away from your man Furusato in second place. They'll be back tomorrow for another duel.